Welcome! In today's tutorial, you'll learn how to create a survey using Google Forms. If I move too quickly through the information, please feel free to pause as needed. The first step is to access your Google Drive. You can do so from the Google home screen by clicking the square composed of smaller squares in the top right corner of the page, then select Google Drive. Once you're in Google Drive, click New, select More. This will give you several more options, including Google Forms. If you hover over the arrow to the right of Google Forms, it will give you the option to create a blank form or from a template. Later, you may want to peruse the templates in more detail, but for this tutorial, please click Blank Form. Now that you've created a blank form, let's tailor it to fit our needs. The first thing you want to do is give your form a title. Click on Untitled Form. Because my survey is about technology, I'm going to type Technology Survey. If you click on Untitled Form in the top left corner, the title you just typed will appear automatically. Next, let's look at the settings. You can find these by clicking on the cogwheel icon in the top right corner. At the top of the settings box, you'll notice 3 tabs. For this tutorial, we'll only be looking at the general and presentation settings. The general settings are fairly straightforward. Depending on your audience, that is, the people taking the survey, you may want to select some of these options. For example, if you would like to know who took the survey and possibly contact those people later, you can select Collect Email Addresses. Google Form will automatically create this question for you and will make it a required question. If you want your audience's answers to remain anonymous, do not select this option. Click over to Presentation Settings. If your survey has many questions, especially many sections of questions, it is helpful to show a progress bar. You can also personalize the confirmation message. This is the response a person completing the survey sees once they finish. Let's change it to something more personal. Click the Save button to exit out of the settings. Next, let's customize our survey. To do so, click on the Artist's Palette icon in the top right corner of your screen. For a simple look, you can change the color of the header and background, or you can select a custom color. If you want to be more creative, you can select Choose Image under the header section. From there, you can either select a provided image for the header or upload a photo. Another option is to change the font style. Click on the drop-down list to see your options. I will warn you against decorative as it is difficult to read. You can close out of the theme options by clicking the X on the theme options box. You can preview your survey at any time by clicking on the eye icon in the top right corner of the screen. It will open in a new tab. Simply close the tab when you're finished. This is a useful tool if you want to see what your survey will look like to others. Depending on the type of survey you wish to create, you may want to begin with demographic questions. The question types that work best include multiple choice, checkboxes, and drop-down. Let me show you an example of each. The default question type is multiple choice. To change it, click Untitled Question to expand your view of the question. Next, click on the drop-down arrow to the right of multiple choice to select their question types. For the first question, I'm going to use the drop-down question type. To the right of the question you just created is a list of 5 icons. The plus icon adds a question. The double T icon adds a title and description. The mountain icon adds an image. The play icon adds a video. And the two rectangles icon adds a new section. Click on the plus icon to add a new question. Since I want a multiple choice question, I don't need to change the question type. Depending on the question you ask, how, why, what, Google Forms may change the question type. If this happens to you, you can always use the drop-down arrow to select the question type you originally wanted. Before we move on to creating the third question, I want to briefly discuss the title and description option. Using the title option to write your question is an extra step, but it can make the question stand out from the answers. It is also helpful when using the checkboxes question type because you can mark all that apply in the description. Let me show you what I mean. In the top left section, you have a title and description box as well as the question below it. On the right side, you can see what this would look like in the preview setting. On the bottom left section of the screen, you see the editing view without the title and description. You just have the question here. On the right, you can see what that preview would look like. Personally, I like how the title and description looks. I'm going to go ahead and add one to my next question. Click on the double T icon to add a title and description. You'll notice that when you add anything, whether it's a question or a title, the new item will appear below the question you are viewing. If this isn't where you wanted it, it's easy to drag the new item to its correct location. Simply move your cursor over the 2x3 squares located at the top center of the new item. When your cursor becomes 4 arrows pointing in each direction, click and drag the item. I also want to take a moment to point out the Undo button, which you can access by clicking on the 3 dots in the top right corner of the screen. Okay, you have a title for your next question, so we need to add the question. Go ahead and hit the plus sign. Change the question type to checkboxes. Now that we have our demographic questions, let's move on to the survey questions. The question types that work well for surveys include linear scale, multiple choice grid, and checkbox grid, but you can use any of the other question types as well. So like previously, let's add a title and description and a question. Change the question to linear scale. With the linear scale question, you can set the number range and even specify what each end of the range signifies. Like before, add a title and description and a question. Change the question to checkbox grid. A checkbox grid is similar to the checkboxes type question because a respondent can select multiple answers for each row. This question type works well for schedule-related questions. Once you have completed your question, add a title and add a question, this time changing the question type to multiple choice grid. Before I show you how to make the survey available, I strongly encourage you to preview your survey. It's easy to miss mistakes in the editing view. Once you're satisfied, you're ready to complete your survey. In the top right corner of the screen is a button that says Send. Click on this to see your options. As you can see, your options include sending the survey via email, through a link, or embedding it in a web page. You also have the option to share the survey through Google, Facebook, or Twitter. Most often, I share things using a link, which you can even shorten, but it's also very easy to share it via Facebook. If you have any questions or issues, you can always post comments below, and I will try to help you through your issues. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you for watching.